Most people don't realize this, but your mind is designed to worry. It's not a flaw in your character or a weakness you need to fix. For thousands of years, the human brain evolved to scan for danger, anticipate problems, and prepare for the worst. Your ancestors who worried about where predators might hide, who stressed about winter food supplies, who couldn't stop thinking about potential threats, they're the ones who survived long enough to pass their genes to you. But here's the thing. Nobody tells you when you're lying awake at 3 a.m, replaying conversations or imagining disasters that haven't happened yet. The same mechanism that once kept your ancestors alive now keeps you trapped in cycles of anxiety that serve no purpose. That ancient alarm system doesn't know the difference between a real tiger and an imaginary catastrophe that might never occur. I want you to picture something with me. Imagine holding a glass of water with your arm extended straight out. Easy enough for the first minute, right? Now keep holding it. After 5 minutes, your arm starts to ache. After 15 minutes, your muscles scream for relief. The glass hasn't gotten heavier. It weighs exactly the same as when you started. But the longer you hold it without rest, the more unbearable it becomes. Worry works exactly like that glass of water. The thoughts themselves aren't necessarily heavy or catastrophic. It's the holding on to them, the refusing to set them down, the constant mental grip that exhausts you. You've been walking through your days with your arm extended, muscles trembling, wondering why everything feels so hard. Let me tell you about something I witnessed that changed how I understood this completely. I was at a lake one summer afternoon, watching a family of ducks glide across the water. A dog suddenly barked from the shore, loud, aggressive, startling. The ducks erupted into chaos, wings flapping frantically, splashing everywhere as they scattered across the lake. Then, maybe 30 seconds later, silence. The ducks were back to gliding peacefully, dipping their heads underwater for fish, completely calm. The threat had passed, and they returned to peace immediately. They didn't spend the next hour discussing what happened. They didn't form a committee to analyze the bark and predict future barks. They didn't lose sleep wondering if that dog might come back tomorrow. What's remarkable about this is animals experience fear intensely, but don't experience worry. They respond to immediate danger with everything they have, then return to baseline the moment it passes. Humans do something completely different. We experience the fear, survive the moment, then replay it endlessly. We add commentary, create sequels, imagine directors' cuts of terrible scenarios that never even happened. Your nervous system wasn't built for this. It was designed for acute stress followed by complete recovery. The modern human experience has become chronic activation without resolution, a smoke alarm that won't turn off even after you've taken the burnt toast out of the toaster. So choosing peace over worry isn't just some pretty spiritual concept. It's a biological necessity. It's honoring the way your body and mind were actually designed to function. Let's pause and consider, what is worry actually doing for you right now? I'm asking seriously, not what you think it should be doing, not what it feels like it's doing, but what it's actually accomplishing in this moment. Most people believe worry is a form of preparation. They think if they mentally rehearse every terrible outcome, they'll be ready if disaster strikes. But preparation and worry are completely different activities. Preparation has clear actions attached to it. You make a plan, gather resources, take concrete steps. Worry is rehearsing suffering without any rehearsal space for solutions. I talked to someone once who spent 6 months worrying about a medical test result. 6 entire months of disrupted sleep, racing thoughts, imagined worst-case scenarios. When the results finally came back completely normal, she told me something fascinating. She said, "I don't feel relieved. I just feel angry that I wasted all that time suffering over nothing." Then she paused and added, "And now I'm worried about the next thing." That's the trap. Worry doesn't prepare you for suffering. It makes you suffer twice. Once in your imagination for something that might never happen, and then again, if it actually does happen. You're living through painful futures that exist nowhere except in your mind. This is what you need to know. Every moment you spend worrying is a moment stolen from your actual life. Not your future life, not the life you'll have once everything is resolved. Your actual life, happening right now, while you're somewhere else in your mind. Think about yesterday. How much of it do you actually remember clearly? If you're like most people, it's probably just fragments. A conversate on here, a meal there, maybe something that frustrated or delighted you. The rest has already faded into a general blur. Now think about all the time you spent yesterday worrying about things that haven't happened yet. All those minutes rehearsing conversations that will never occur, imagining scenarios that will never play out, solving problems that don't exist yet and may never exist. Those minutes are gone forever. You traded real moments of your life for fictional moments in your mind. Here's where the shift begins. Not tomorrow, not once you've figured everything out, but right now in this exact moment. You can choose peace over worry right now, because peace isn't something you achieve after you've solved all your problems. Peace is what you choose while your problems still exist. Let me explain what I mean. You probably think peace will come when you finally know how things will turn out, when you get the test results, when you hear back about the job, when the situation resolves, when you have certainty. But that's not how life works. The moment one uncertainty resolves, another appears. If you're waiting for all your questions to be answered before you allow yourself peace, you'll wait your entire life. Peace is not the absence of uncertainty. Peace is what you create in the presence of uncertainty. It's the eye of the hurricane. Everything around you might be chaos, but you can choose to be still at the center. This is where everything comes together. Choosing peace is not about controlling your external circumstances. It's about changing your relationship with this present moment, exactly as it is right now. Let me give you something practical. Right now, as you're hearing these words, I want you to do something. Notice where you are. Notice what you can actually see around you. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. Notice the surface supporting your body. Notice that you're breathing. Notice that in this exact moment, right now, you are okay. You might not be perfect. Your life might not be perfect. But in this specific moment, you are okay. You're not being chased by anything. You're not in physical danger. You have air to breathe. Your heart is beating. This moment is actually safe. Now notice what your mind wants to do with that information. It probably wants to say, yes, but what about tomorrow? What about next week? What about that thing I'm worried about? Watch how quickly your mind wants to leave this safe moment and travel to an imaginary future where you need to be afraid. That's the pattern. That's what you've been doing automatically, probably for years. The present moment is actually fine, but your mind keeps dragging you into a future that doesn't exist yet, showing you highlight reels of everything that could go wrong. You can interrupt that pattern. You can notice it happening and make a different choice. Not by forcing yourself to stop thinking certain thoughts. That doesn't work. But by anchoring yourself here in this moment over and over again. Think of your mind like an overprotective parent. It's genuinely trying to keep you safe by warning you about every possible danger. But it's gone way too far, to the point where it won't let you live freely. You wouldn't let an overprotective parent control every aspect of your life. You'd thank them for their concern, acknowledge they mean well, then make your own decisions anyway. You can do the same thing with your worried thoughts. Thank you, mind, for trying to protect me. I hear your concern, but I'm choosing peace right now. I'm choosing to be here in this moment instead of in an imaginary future. This isn't positive thinking. This isn't pretending everything is fine when it's not. This is recognizing a simple truth. Worry about the future happening in your mind right now doesn't change the future one bit. All it does is damage the present. Let's talk about control for a minute, because that's really what's underneath most worry. You're trying to control the uncontrollable by thinking about it constantly. There's this magical thinking that happens. If you worry enough, somehow you'll prevent bad things from happening. If you stay vigilant enough, you'll be able to manage every variable. But you can't. You never could. And the exhaustion you feel comes from trying to do the impossible. It's like trying to control the weather by watching the forecast obsessively. You can check the weather app 10 times an hour, but you still can't make it stop raining. You're just making yourself miserable checking. What you can control is very small. What you can't control is vast. And somewhere in that gap between what you can and can't control, you've been living in constant tension, trying to expand your control through sheer mental effort. What if you stopped? What if right now, in this moment, you acknowledged all the things you can't control and let them be what they are? What if you took your hands off the steering wheel of the universe and admitted you were never actually driving anyway? That might sound scary, but actually it's the most freeing thing you can do, because you're already living in a world where you don't control most things. You're just exhausting yourself pretending you do. This is where it all connects. The peace you're looking for doesn't come from finally getting control over your life and circumstances. It comes from releasing the illusion that you ever had that kind of control in the first place. You control your actions. You control your choices. You control how you respond to what happens. That's it. That's your domain. Everything else, what other people do, what happens in the world, how situations unfold, what results you get, all of that is outside your jurisdiction. And here's the beautiful thing. When you stop trying to control what you can't control, you suddenly have so much more energy for what you actually can control. You can put your energy into being kind in this moment, into being present with someone you love, into doing your work with care and attention, into making today meaningful, regardless of what tomorrow brings. I want to tell you about something that happened to me years ago. I was waiting for news about something important. I don't even remember what it was anymore, which tells you something right there. But at the time, it felt like everything depended on this one thing working out. I spent days barely functioning, checking my phone constantly, unable to focus on anything else. My stomach was in knots. I wasn't sleeping well. I snapped at people I cared about. I was completely consumed by waiting and worrying. Then one afternoon, I was walking outside and saw this elderly man sitting on a bench feeding birds. He was completely absorbed in what he was doing, smiling at the birds, moving slowly and deliberately. He looked so peaceful, it almost hurt to see. I realized in that moment that he probably had problems too. He'd probably lived through losses I couldn't imagine. He might have been dealing with health issues, grief, financial concerns. I had no idea. But in that moment, feeding those birds, he was choosing peace. He was choosing to be fully present with this simple activity that brought him joy. And there I was, healthy, young, with my whole life ahead of me, making myself absolutely miserable over something I couldn't control. I was standing in a beautiful afternoon. But I wasn't there at all. I was in my head, in an imaginary future, suffering over outcomes that hadn't happened yet. That image stayed with me. That old man feeding birds became a reminder that peace is always available, regardless of circumstances. You don't need perfect conditions to choose peace. You just need to choose it. So how do you actually do this? How do you choose peace over worry when your mind is racing and your chest is tight and you feel like you're drowning in what ifs? You start exactly where you are. You don't wait until you feel calm to choose peace. You choose peace while you're feeling anxious, and the peace gradually creates the calm. Here's something I find fascinating about I choose peace over worry right now. Calm your mind. Fast. First, you notice what's happening. You name it. I'm worrying right now. I'm imagining future scenarios. I'm trying to control what I can't control. Just noticing and naming it creates a tiny bit of space between you and the worry. You're no longer completely identified with it. You're the one noticing it happening. Then you come back to your body. Worry lives almost entirely in your head. It's mental time travel. Your body is always here in the present moment, so you feel your feet on the ground. You take a slow breath, noticing the sensation. You relax your shoulders, your jaw, your hands. You reconnect with the physical reality of this moment. Then you ask yourself, what do I actually need to do right now? Not what you need to figure out, not what you need to plan for, not what you need to prepare for. What actual action does this moment require? Usually, the answer is much smaller than your worry. Maybe you need to make one phone call. Maybe you need to send one email. Maybe you need to rest. Maybe you need to eat something. Maybe you actually don't need to do anything at all right now, except be where you are. Worry makes everything feel urgent and enormous. Presence makes things feel manageable and clear. When you stop trying to solve every future problem simultaneously in your head and just focus on what this moment actually needs, everything becomes simpler. Let's pause and consider, what does this moment need from you right now? Not this week, not this year. This moment, right now. Maybe it needs you to take a deep breath. Maybe it needs you to be kind to yourself. Maybe it needs you to close your eyes for a minute and just rest. Maybe it needs you to acknowledge that you're doing the best you can with what you know. One moment at a time. That's how you choose peace. Not by solving all your problems before you allow yourself to be calm, but by choosing to be present with this one moment, then the next one, then the next one. You might need to make this choice 50 times today, 100 times. That's okay. Every single time you notice yourself spiraling into worry and choose to come back to this moment, you're strengthening a new pattern. You're teaching yourself that peace is possible even when life is uncertain. Because here's what nobody tells you about worry. It's a habit. It's a pattern you've practiced so many times, it's become automatic. Your brain has carved deep grooves for worry, and your thoughts just naturally slide into those grooves unless you consciously choose a different path. But habits can change. Patterns can shift. You can create new grooves, new automatic responses. It just takes practice. And every time you choose peace over worry, you're practicing. You're laying down new neural pathways. You're teaching your brain that there's another way to respond to uncertainty. At first, it feels awkward and difficult. The worry thoughts come rushing back the moment you try to let them go. That's normal. Your brain has been doing this for years. It's good at worrying. It's had a lot of practice. But you can get good at peace too. You can practice choosing presence. You can practice anchoring in this moment. You can practice releasing what you can't control. And the more you practice, the easier it becomes, the more natural. Until one day you realize you didn't spend all morning worrying about something that hasn't happened yet. You just lived your morning present and aware. What's remarkable about this is choosing peace doesn't mean bad things won't happen. It doesn't mean everything will work out exactly how you want. It means you stop suffering before you need to, if you need to at all. Most of what you worry about never happens. Studies have shown that roughly 85% of what people worry about never comes to pass. And of the 15% that does happen, 79% of people report handling it better than they thought they would. So you're spending enormous amounts of energy preparing for mostly imaginary scenarios. And even when things do go wrong, you're more capable than you think. You're stronger than your worry gives you credit for. You've survived 100% of your worst days so far. You've made it through every single thing you thought might break you. You have a perfect track record of getting through difficult times. But worry doesn't trust that. Worry thinks you need constant vigilance and preparation and mental rehearsal to survive. Worry thinks if you let your guard down for even a moment, everything will fall apart. That's not true. You can let your guard down. You can rest. You can be at peace, and you'll still be okay. In fact, you'll be better than okay, because you'll actually be present for your life instead of constantly rehearsing for disasters. This is what you need to know. The choice between peace and worry isn't something you make once, and then it's done. It's a choice you make moment by moment, situation by situation, thought by thought. And every time you choose peace, you're choosing yourself. You're choosing your well-being. You're choosing to actually live your life instead of just thinking about it. There's a difference between concern and worry that I think is important to understand. Concern is present-focused and action-oriented. You're concerned about something, so you take appropriate action, then let it go. Worry is future-focused and circular. You're worried about something, so you think about it obsessively without taking action, creating more anxiety without any resolution. You can be concerned about your health and schedule a doctor's appointment. That's appropriate. But worrying about your health by imagining diseases you might have and medical catastrophes that could happen doesn't help you. It just makes you suffer. You can be concerned about a relationship and have an honest conversation. That's healthy. But worrying about all the ways the relationship could fail without actually addressing anything doesn't improve the relationship. It just steals your peace. Learn to recognize the difference. When concern arises, ask yourself, is there an action I can take right now? If yes, take it. If no, let it go. Don't let concern ferment into worry. And when you notice yourself worrying, ask yourself, what would I do differently if I weren't worried about this? Then do that thing. Live as if you've already chosen peace, and the feeling will follow the action. I know this isn't easy. If it were easy, everyone would do it. You're working against years of conditioning, against a culture that treats worry like preparation and anxiety like responsibility. You're swimming upstream against messages that tell you constant vigilance is necessary for survival. But you don't have to accept those messages. You can choose differently. You can be the person who says, I'm not going to rehearse suffering anymore. I'm going to be here in this moment as fully as I can. That takes courage, real courage. It's actually much harder to be present with uncertainty than to worry about it. Worry gives you the illusion of doing something. Presence requires you to sit with not knowing, with not controlling, with trusting that you'll handle whatever comes when it comes. But that's where real peace lives, in the space of not knowing, in the openness of uncertainty, in the radical acceptance that this moment is all you ever really have, and it's enough. So where does this leave us? Right here, right now, in this moment, the only moment that actually exists, the only moment where you have any real power. Your future self will deal with future moments when they arrive. Your future self will have all the resources of that future moment available. But right now, in this moment, the only thing you need to handle is this moment. And this moment you can handle. You're handling it right now. Peace.